Good day, Titishans, and welcome back to Tagum Doctors College. And this is again Teacher Anna, your learning partner. So today we are going to learn the subject Trends, Networks, and Critical Thinking in the 21st Century Culture. So if you have the book written by Marquez, that is from pages 14 to 29. So today we are going to learn lesson number 2, and this is about democratic interventions. So at the end of the lessons, guys, you are expected to first identify the elements and typology of democracy, and then you are going to demonstrate awareness of the difference between democracy and other forms of government through comparative analysis. So let's go. Let's try to know what is democracy. So ano pala ang democracy, ma'am? So actually, guys, democracy can be attributed to the ancient Greeks between 500 to 400 BC. The term came from the Greek words. So, gikan siya sa Greek word nga demos, which means the people, and kraten, which means to rule. So, literally, nagamini siya na rule by the people. Okay? Democracy should be ruled by the people. So, as you can see here in the picture, that's why we have equal rights, freedom, representation, participation of the citizens. We have a voice and we have a choice because our country is a democratic country. So let's go to the democracy means everyone. So as you can see here, democracy, guys, means everyone. So meaning under this banner, guys, we have a say, we have our rights, we have our voice as a democratic citizen. So everyone can participate in developing a law or even disregarding a law. So if you want to be a lawyer someday, so this topic or this lesson is a very important notes for you to listen. Kasi this is like the backbone of democracy and even the law that we have as a Filipino people in this country. So now let's go to elements of modern democracy. So ano-ano pala ma'am ang modern elements of democracy? So we have 6 elements of modern democracy, guys. So first, we have the rule of law. We have the separation of powers, the basic rights and freedoms, suffrage, freedom of speech, and pluralism. So ano pala yung rule of law, ma'am? So rule of law is the heart of any democratic government. So mao ni siya ang pinakapuso sa atoang democratic government. Mao ni siya ato ang ginasunod na adira ang mga balaod nga dapat nato nga sundon ang ato ang mga katungod o ato ang freedom nga must be protected by the government. So that's why we can say no one is above the law. So it means all else is equal, meaning citizens stand as equals in the eyes of law. So dato man ka or pobre, we are equal in the eyes of law. Okay? Now let's go to separation of powers. So here in the separation of powers, guys, as you have learned in the Philippine politics and governance, so we have three democratic government. So naa siya three separate powers. So we have the executive power, the legislative power, and the judiciary power. So always remember the executive power is responsible for the implementation of laws. Ang legislative power is responsible for creation of laws. So si executive may mag-implement, si legislative may magbuhat. Si judiciary mao siya ang responsible for the interpretation of law. Siya ang nag-interpret sa mga balaod. So it is also worth mentioning that democratic governments can be patterned after two different systems. So naapod tay two different system for the democratic government. So we have the presidential system, which is mao na siya ang Pilipinas, example of presidential system, the parliamentary system. So kung i-combine ni siyang duha, this is what we call the mixed system. So the presidential system, guys, the citizens or all the people of the Philippines who are registered voters can elect or even vote for a president. So as we elected a president who serve as the head of the state and of the government. So diri sa presidential system, ang mga citizens sa Pilipinas na sila kakayahan to vote for their president, and this president will be the head of the state and the government. Mao na siya ang presidential system. While in the parliamentary system, guys, kuan siya, by party siya, guys. So, ang iboto sa mga tao is katong mga party. So katong party nga madaog, sila didto ang mamili sa ilahang leader. And then we call that the prime minister. So the prime minister is the head of that certain party nga nidaog sa parliamentary system na country. While ang mixed system, guys, is a mix of president and or presidential system and parliamentary system. So mix sila sa duha. So the prime minister now, on the other hand, aside from his or her executive functions, also works with the cabinet. And then both the president and the prime minister are responsible for legislature. An example aning mixed system, guys, is the nations or the mixed systems are France and Russia. So France and Russia is an example of mixed system. Okay, so always remember, so here in the separation of powers, so we have the three separate powers, the executive, legislative, and judiciary. And in a democratic government, it is patterned by the two different systems, and then the other one is the mixed of, of presidential and the parliamentary. So we also have the basic rights and freedoms. So as you all know, guys, teacher has also the basic rights and freedom. Students has also the basic rights and freedom. So here in the basic rights and freedom, guys, it is an implication that citizens really have or must know their basic rights and freedoms. So these rights be broadly categorized into human rights. So kabalo ba mo kung sa inyong mga human rights, civil rights, and political rights? So you should know that. Examples of human rights include the right to life, the right to be secured in one's person, and the right to live freely. Mao na siya example sa human rights. Civil rights include the right to own property and right to enjoy the privileges accorded to being a citizen of a particular country. And then political rights include the right to run for elective office. So we also have the basic rights, freedom of speech, freedom of worship, and freedom of association. Now, unsa ning suffrage, ma'am? So when we say suffrage, guys, it is the right to vote or the right of every citizen within the recognized legal age has the right to participate in election by casting a vote. So always remember, be an intelligent voter. Okay? Now, let's go to the freedom of speech. So unsa dining freedom of speech, ma'am? So freedom of speech talks about the our kakayahan or our voice or uh, atuang atuang right na madungog or to hear our voice of our agreement, disagreement, affirmations, criticisms, and proposals to their government, highlighting the notion of rule of the people and a democracy. That's why freedom of speech shows that it is still the people who decide what they want to happen within the state and how they want to be lead. So that's why naiwelga. So that's why there is a peace talk between sa mga tao nga nagawilga through the government para makabalo and they will come in between. So that's why there are also if we have the freedom of speech, guys, always remember that this freedom has also limitations and obligations and even responsibilities. So that's why, guys, libel or the existence of libel is very, broadly kay siya nga ginagamit. It is because there are a lot of malicious published. So daghan kay mga article o mga write-up nga para lang madaot ang person's character and ma-dishonor ang person's character. So, in that way, you can, you can sue them. So, kung gidaot ka, gibuhat-buhatan ka og istorya, so pwede nimo silang ipapriso. And ang ilang kaso is libel. So it is a crime broadly characterized by maliciously publishing an article or write-up that may be detrimental to a person's character or may cause dishonor. Labi na nagbuhat-buhat lang, kuan lang siya, kanang buhat-buhat lang og istorya. So we have the freedom of speech, but we need to be responsible with what we have with what we are saying, with our agreement, with our disagreement, dapat nakabase po din siya gihapon sa truth. So always remember that, guys. Now let's go to pluralism. Pluralism, guys, is a rule of law that recognizes the basic rights and freedoms of citizens. So meaning, guys, tungod kay democratic government man ta natay mga differences. So we have a different religion, we have a different political groups and associations because we are in a democratic government. Pluralism is very basic or genuine democracy gid siya kung natay mga nagkalahi-lahi nga religion, natay nagkalahi-lahi nga association. So that's why also in the government there are also two camps with which is the administration and the opposition. So in that case, it really emphasizes that we are in a democratic country, and that is an indication of pluralism. Ang opposition and the administration, makita nimo mag-away sila, magbingi sila, and they will debate or fight for something that's right, and then they will also come in between. So ang nindot pud ana, guys, kasi maano gid siya ba, mabalanse gid nato ang isa ka butang, in what case or how many percentage of the people will be affected, and then pila pud ang mga tao nga maapektuhan ana in a negative way and in a positive way. So always remember, guys, and in every decision it can come up in a negative way or it can also come up in a positive way. So that's why you need to think twice. Now, as I said a while ago, we have the types of democracy. So we have the direct democracy and the indirect democracy. So always remember, guys, when we say direct democracy, it is also known as a pure democracy. So meaning, guys, ang mga tao or the citizens really come together to decide on issues or pass laws through a vote. So meaning, ang mga tao gyud mismo ang mubuhat o mo issue or mo pasa sa mga balaod through their votes. So meaning in this democratic or direct democratic country, most likely the will of the people is really followed. There is a direct democracy. So in the Philippines, guys, the only trace of direct democracy here can be found in the provisions of the Constitution on initiative and referendum. So that's why, guys, if naamoy mga law nga dili mo ganahan, you can revise it. So magkuan lang ka, magtapok lang ka og community or a group of people nga directly affected ato nga balaod, and you can pass or even fail or even discontinue that law. Okay? Because that is also our initiative and referendum. Next is the indirect democracy. So unsa ang indirect democracy, ma'am? When we say indirect democracy, guys, it is also characterized in the Philippines. So the people elect leaders to act as their representative in the government. So ang example sa pag-exercise sa indirect democracy is kita nga mga citizens sa Pilipinas, we come together to vote a certain president. So just like Rodrigo Duterte, so si Duterte ang atuang representative of the people. Okay? So he is the elect leaders to act as our representative in the government. So, because of our trust to President Rodrigo Duterte, he represents the will of the citizens. So, he is also responsible for passing laws and implementing them. So, that's why, guys, because president or the president must have a very good intelligence and even intelligent guesses to decide what is the will of its constituents and even the needs of its constituents. So mao na siya ang indirect democracy. So the advantage of an indirect democracy, guys, is that it is relatively easier to decide on issues. So dali lang makadecide sa mga issue o pagpass sa mga balaod and then carry out their implementation as compared to a direct democracy. Especially when there are numerous policy areas to decide on apart from the size of the population. However, the disadvantage is that it is very difficult for the representatives to consider the will of every citizen. So ang lisod lang siya, guys, ang disadvantage lang niya is uh, lisod kayo mo consider and even difficult to really know the will of every citizen kasi most likely dili mo kita pantay-pantay and then we also have different preferences. So maybe this group of people prefer this one but this other group of people prefer this one. So that's why you need to come in between at the same time balance kung unsa gyud ang mas maayo. Asa diri nga mga intelligent guesses ang may advantages sa mga tao. So that is the types of democracy. So the four basic dimensions of democracy, guys, are the people. So without it, we cannot say that uh, that country is really exercising democracy. So the four dimensions are the people, equality, common good, and representation. So sa rin mga people, ma'am. So when we say people, because democracy is ruled by the people, so this one refer to not just a single group. Or maybe it is a makeup of a tribe, it is a political party or a religious denomination, but to a collective group. So collective siya, no? Of individuals with varying political and religious beliefs. So lahi-lahi man ta og political and religious beliefs, we are the people or the citizen of the Philippines. So, we may simply refer to this group of people as citizens of a nation, wherein these citizens are regarded as equal. So, we are the citizen of the Republic of the Philippines and we are regarded as equal. So, we are the people of this country. Now, here in equality, guys, another dimension of democracy is equality. So, all else equal. So some people are born with better genes than others, while others are born with different kinds of sickness. So ngano makaingon maka-equal, ma'am? The world is unfair. Our country is unfair. So in a lot of sense, we are really equal. Kita tanan pwede mamatay. Kita tanan pwede masakit. Kita tanan na ay genes. So in all else, we are equal. So even though some of the Filipino come or born in a wealthy family, while others are born into poor ones, some are born naturally smart or beautiful or athletic, while others have to work extra hard to develop themselves to be on a par with those with natural talents. So, but ngano mang equal ta? So if we are equal, then why do our laws try so hard to put up a system where all of us may be treated as equals? Yes, we are equals in the eyes of the law. So this is moral equality. Meaning, in the eyes of the law, kung makasasala ka, kung nakapatay ka, so you are a criminal. So, all else equal. Basin pa og dato ka or pobre, basta nakapatay ka, you are a criminal. So, not necessarily because we are naturally equal in every aspect, pero dili siya necessary nga tanan jud nga part sa ato ang aspect or aspeto sa ato ang kinabuhi is equal ta. Like, kita tanan dato, kita tanan gwapa, kita tanan sporty. Dili, but in the eyes of the law. And then, we have the legal equality. So, kita tanan, we are governed by a fairly and receive the equal protection of the law. So dili dapat nga mas lamang ang mga dato sa equal protection of the law. Kung dili kita tanan natay equal protection from the law. So the principle of equality, guys, in a democracy can be interpreted as the people of a democratic nation having an equal right to rule and an equal right to vote. So kita tanan, pwede nga mo rule, pwede maging leader. That's why you are trying your best to study as a young student and learn this subject. It is because you are trying your best to have a right to rule or to lead, and even the right to vote. So always remember, be an intelligent voter. So that is a political equality. So we have equality, Jude. It is because we have the same legal equality, moral equality, and political equality. Now, let's go to the, okay, so the other one there is representation. So, unsa din yung representation, ma'am? So, no, common good pa. So, common good is like, this is the very basic or sumao gini siya ang atoang aim in a democratic government. So, this is a very important task nga in every decision and uh, in every questions and every choices that the government should have, it should be for the common good of the people. So mao gini siya ang pinaka gusto nga makamit sa government. It is to have a common good sa mga citizens sa Pilipinas. So if you become a leader, guys, try your best to be a public servant that is willing to adjust, willing to be responsible, nga makuha gyud ang common good of the people. So common good speaks of what is good for the people. This inevitably raises various questions. So for instance, a new superhighway will be constructed to ease the traffic in EDSA, which is in Metro Manila. How is this beneficial to those Filipinos living in Sulu or in Tawi-Tawi? Does this contribute to the common good or only to the good of those who are passing through EDSA? So obviously, guys, this is only beneficial to the well-being of those who use EDSA. Pero if this is the case, do laws passed and projects endorsed by our representatives in the government that only benefit a particular province, region, or group of people result to the common good? So the answer to this question, we must first be able to determine whether the common good is aggregate or non-aggregate. So kung mingon tag-aggregate, guys, this means that the common good is the combined well-being of all the members of the group, whereas non-aggregate refers to what is good for a group regardless of the individual well-being of its members. Kasi sa common good, guys, we have the aggregate manggod and the non-aggregate. So meaning kung aggregate siya, meaning tanan nga membro sa country is kanang maka-benefit ana. While the non-aggregate, guys, is at some point there are a group nga of individuals nga kuan saya dito naka-specifically sila ang maka-benefit. So it is because EDSA is also a part of the country. So meaning if that is our capital country, tudo siya sa capital country, so that's why we need to really address the problem of that certain city. So because it also have very vast citizens that living in that certain area. So it is really a protocol of the government to ano to approve that project. It is because it can or it really help the people of that certain area. So basin pag naata diri sa layo, when we go to that place, we cannot now experience the problem of traffic. It is because ilahan ang giayos. Because in a certain area pod or in a certain point in a government, naman po tayo lahi-lahi nato nga mga projects. Now, that is for the common good. So even though it is aggregate or non-aggregate, always remember that a lot of people are also experiencing the advantages of that certain projects. Okay? So we also have the representation. So representation, guys, is another key dimension in a democracy. Whether in a direct democracy wherein citizens represent themselves or in an indirect democracy wherein representatives are elected. So the concept of representation, guys, nag-work siya basin pag direct or indirect democracy. It also represents and authorized to take the appropriate and necessary actions within the government that would be beneficial for the common good of the people. So here, guys, in the representation, we have a problematic scenes put in a representation. First, guys, the elected representatives have minds of their own. So ang problema kay ang elected nga representative is naapod sila kaugalingon nilang panghuna-huna, kaugalingon nilang desisyon. And second, there is relatively little information for citizens to use in evaluating the performance of their representatives. So that's why, guys, we need to come in between. So that's why daghan og ka ng mga ansay tawag ani survey nga gusto nila mabalaan ang atuang will as a citizens of the Filipino people. So that's why if you are asked to participate in a survey, try your best to really answer in reality. Kasi mamanggo na siya ang ilahang basihan to know the common good of the people. So representatives are the ones who are authorized to take the appropriate and necessary actions. So just like our President Duterte, within the government that would be beneficial for the common good of the people. So actually, rather than the other president, it is really nag-aspire gyud ang atong presidente to work for the common good of the Filipino people. So, as the representative, it really represent it really nagapaminaw gid siya sa mga voices of the people and even the participating representatives and even the citizens. So nagapaminaw gid si Duterte no sa mga mulo sa iyang mga citizens because he is the representation of our country. So he really wants to decide and act for the interest and benefit of the common good of the people. Now let's go to the 18 different forms of government. So actually, there are a lot of forms of government, guys. But here in our book, we are going to discuss the 18 different forms of government that may be identified based on whom the power to rule resides or the criteria for selecting those who are fit to rule. So lahi-lahi siya, guys. So we have here, first one is aristocracy. So aristocracy, it is a government or a form of government na lead by the upper class. So while capitalism is a form of government wherein the people are allowed to own properties or businesses for purposes of profit insofar as these owners pay taxes in the government. While communism, guys, is an example, or China is an example of communism. It is ruled by a single party and ang ilahang guys is they have an equal sharing of goods through the people. So even though they are just ruled by a single party, it is also kanang ang nindot niya kay classless na nga society. So all else equal. So sila daw tanan is equal and then they share the food or the goods of the government. And then we also have the constitutional monarchy. So when we say constitutional monarchy, is a form of government wherein a democratic government exists side by side with a monarchy. So kuan siya, duha ka buok no ang iyahang form of government. So we have the democratic and monarchy. And the responsibilities in ruling are divided between two heads. So gidivide siya sa two heads. So example ani guys is the United Kingdom. So this is United Kingdom is a constitutional monarchy where the people or the prime minister of the parliament serves as the head of the government while the monarch serves as the head of state. Now let's go to democracy. So as we have discussed a while ago, a democracy is ruled by the people. So most likely, uh, democracy is a form of government wherein power to rule resides in the people. And then ang ang pagsabot ni Plato sa democracy is it is a degraded version of oligarchy. So meanwhile, for Aristotle daw, among the three degenerative or degenerate forms of government, namely democracy, oligarchy, and tyranny, democracy daw ang pinaka or what he considered most tolerable. Kaya ra. Many countries around the world today have adopted a democratic form of government because it is nice. Kasi daghan man gud og utok or kanang kung magka-unite lang gid ta, we have kanang brilliant ideas. Each of us has a brilliant ideas, and because democracy is ruled by people, nindot siya kay in that brilliant ideas we can come in between. Now let's go to the next one. So next one is despotism. Despotism is ruled by single individual. This is a form of government wherein the people are governed by a single individual who treats the people as slaves. So ang pinaka-example ani guys atong Ivan the Terrible, the first Tsar of Russia. So siya ang pinaka-first na considered as despot or siya ang single individual nga pinaka-leader nila, that is what we call despotism, and then the other people are his or her slave. Ana siya guys, ang despotism. Next is dictatorship. So under kung kinsa nakahinumdum kang Hitler. So di ba si Hitler grabe kaayo. So Hitler or uh the government of Hitler and the form of government of Hitler is also called as the dictatorship. So it means it is governed by an individual who has absolute governing power. So kinsa doon ay absolute governing power, siya ang diktator o kani siya nga form of government is dictatorship. Just like Nazi Germany under Hitler. Next is federalism. So unsa ang federalism guys? Federalism is a form of government wherein the governing power is shared between a central government and a group of regional or local governments. So the United States is an example of federalism. Kanang naay governing power gihapon ang mga regional or local government. So that's why kung unsa ilang era or meaning unsa tong tax na ilang nakolekta didto, nga certain nga lugar. So ang nindot siya kasi ang ilahang na race is para gihapon sa ilahang city or even in the local region. So that is for federalism. While the monarchy, so di ba kisa may gusto diri mahimong king or queen. So this is a form of government or which is called the monarchy. So it is ruled by a king or a queen and then passed on as inheritance of the monarch children, which is the prince or the princesses. Then oligarchy, guys, is ruled by a few people. So katulang mga wealthy and powerful people ang pwede mag-rule diri sa oligarchy. Next is the regional or local, guys, is a form of government wherein people in a specific local are ruled by a small group of leaders. So ruled by a small group of leaders ning regional or local. So in a specific place lang po, limited lang siya. So just like in Tagum City, our local government is ruled by the mayor or by our mayor. Next is republic. So sa republic, ma'am, ang Pilipinas lagi ma'am ginatawag lagi siya Republic of the Philippines. Yes, it is because republic is a form of government wherein the people are not ruled by a monarch but by an elected president. Because we have an elected president, we are also a republic or a republican country. So the government of the Philippines is an example of a republic. And next is the revolutionary. So saan yung revolutionary? So revolutionary government, guys, results in a situation wherein the existing government is forcibly overthrown by a revolutionary forces. So katong existing na government na overthrown siya because na ay revolutionary government or revolutionary forces. So just like what happened in Bonifacio and Aguinaldo's respective governments. So it is considered as a revolutionary government. Next is socialism. So unsa din yung socialism, ma'am? Socialism is wherein business that are involved in production and distribution of goods and basic utilities such as electricity and water are governed or administered by the government and not by capitalists. So there is sa socialism, guys, ang gobyerno ang may-ari ng mga basic goods and utilities, even the production and distribution of these basic utilities. So just such as water and electricity. So ginatawag din siya of socialism. Next is democracy. So democracy, guys, is a form of government wherein leaders are chosen on basis of being honorable. So if you are an honorable person, honorable, or you came from an honorable family, so it means you can lead. So that is for democracy. Next is the totalitarian. So unsa din yung totalitarian, ma'am? When we say totalitarian, guys, it is a party controls the affairs of the state and imposes limits on the citizens in terms of what they should believe, the values they should uphold, and attitudes they should expose, among others. So it is just governed, guys, by a single political party. So party siya, a group of people. Sila ang naga-impose ug nagalimit sa kanang unsa ang dapat tuuhan sa mga tao, unsa ang values nga they should uphold, ug unsa nga attitude ang dapat nila ipakita. Next is transitional. So transitional government, guys, exists when a country is undergoing transition from one form of government to another. So from this form, like for example, we are a democratic country. So kung mo transfer ta og federalism, so most likely we are going to have first a transitional government. So from democracy, it transition sa siya before ta moadto sa federalism. Just like that. Next is tyranny. So tyranny, guys, is a form of government wherein the people are ruled by a wealthy people. So katong mga wealthy people lang ang pwede mag-rule. But the power to rule are by overthrowing those who are in power through means that are not prescribed by law. So kung dato kay ka, that's why in the other country, they have their own like kanang mga army nila, army lang sa ilahang relatives or even sa ilalang mga kadugo to para dili sila mailisan. So na sila yung mga inaana. So it is also important, guys, to note that tyrants are not necessarily ruthless and may in fact be helpful and considerate of the people. So dili tanan tyranny nga is ruthless. So some of them are also helpful and considerate to the people. So such as Pisistratus of Athens. So the ancient Greeks saw a number of tyrants who were considered good, such as Pisistratus of Athens. So isa po siya ka tyranny nga form of government, what maayo si Pisistratus. So mo ni siya, guys. So these are just some of the forms of government. And there are others that are not included in this list, guys. You may observe that in the Philippines, the government that we have is a combination of various forms such as democracy, capitalism, regional or local, and republic. So kung makita nimo, guys, natay various forms of government. So kani siya ang democracy, capitalism, regional or local, and republic. So ngano ni siya, ma'am, nganong daghan man ta og combination of various forms of government? It is because, or this goes without saying, that these forms of governments may be mixed and matched to suit, so para masuit ang needs and desires of the people to be governed. So thus, it is important for you as a future leader. So as a future leader you are, guys, of our nation, you need to understand these forms of government to be able to describe if our existing government setup is really the type that we need. So maybe you are the future of the nation or even the future president of the Philippines. So always remember to really know the important and even kanang applicable jud nga type or form of government sa ato ang country. So that would be all, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the chance. Always remember to read your lessons and try also to review these lessons. Now let's go to your assessment. So thank you so much. Have a great day and always remember to make your parents proud. Have a great day to the chance. See you. Bye.